This is my risk assessment of football for playing on a rubber crumb astroturf, what we're on right now. The first risk I've got is studs. Now, wearing appropriate studs is very important for football. There's a lot of dangers involved, like for instance on this surface, players slipping could damage themselves, and obviously upturned studs in tackles could cause damage to players. Severity of this is 2, probability is 3, giving it a risk score of 6. Now, control this, we said that it's best to only have trainers, football trainers such as these with moulded studs here, little plastic moulds. This lowers the damage that could be caused if it was to make an impact with the body, and also these are a lot better for grip on this surface. After doing that, that gives us a new risk score of 1 for this. Now we have posts and nets as my next risk. Now you see, posts and nets need to be secure, as you can see on this post in particular. Not very secure net, not very secure at all, both the front and back. In a real net, secure net, it should be all fastened up tightly here, like so. And obviously this should be fastened at the back railing there, so it's all going to be correct. This can cause a choking hazard, as that is at neck length if a player was to run into it. Obviously it could even be a tripping hazard if a player was to end up in the goal. As well as the posts, a player could overrun, they could run into the posts, it could be a very serious issue. So we gave this severity level of 3 and a probability of 2, giving it a risk score of 6 overall. Controls for this was to make sure the nets are secure and to inform the players that they cannot slide around on this. It can be very dangerous around the nets and the posts. After doing this, it gives us a new risk score of 3. And the next risk was the fencing. Now, if you see the fencing around here, it's a very hard metal surface. If a player was to come into impact or contact with that, it could cause some serious injury. As you can see, it's only a couple of yards away from the line itself. By doing that, a player could overrun from a sprint. They might lose control, they may trip, and they may land right and make an impact with the fencing, which could cause serious damage. We gave this severity level of 2, probability of 2, giving a risk score of 4, which is relatively low. Controls would be to inform the players, be careful when you're sprinting up by the line, try not to lose control, trying to avoid running in the general direction of these railings, as it could cause any damage. Obviously, if there was an incident to happen, we would have medical attention available. The new risk score for this after this would be 2. The next risk would be wearing no shin pads. If a player in football, it's very important that players wear shin pads, mainly as a safety precaution. If a player isn't wearing shin pads and say they were to be caught up in a bad tackle, opposing studs in the shins could easily pierce the skin, could even break a bone. Shin pads, such as this one here, very protective, gives you a good solid protection against any impact that could be made. So I gave this a severity level of 2 and a probability level of 3, making the risk score overall 6. Now, controls for this would inform players, make sure they are wearing shin pads beforehand. If not, they shouldn't be able to play at all. They should not be allowed to play. And if there was an issue, if a player was able to play without shin pads, there was an issue, there would be medical attention there. This gives us a new risk score after that of 2. The next risk I had was players jumping for the ball in the air. Now, when players jump in the air, you see a lot of time from corner situations, you'd have multiple players jumping for the ball. It is possible that there may be a clash of heads as both players jump in to head the ball. This could be a very serious injury, so we gave it a severity level of 3, probability of 2. Giving it a risk score of 6 overall. The controls for this would be inform players straight away and train them in able to determine when would be the most efficient time and safe time to jump for the ball, where they need to jump for the ball, and how to avoid other players who are jumping in their direction. Obviously, if there was an issue to happen, there would be medical attention available. This gives us a new risk score of 2. And finally, we have slide tackles. Especially on this pitch here, slide tackles can be very dangerous. It's a very slippy pitch. If a player was to make a slide tackle here, this could cause, if they was wearing shorts, no Under Armour, no form of thermals, they could graze themselves on this sort of material here, the rubber crumb here, as it shoots up as you pass down. It can cause some grazing, some carpet burns onto the legs or the arms or whatever part of the body comes into contact when you're at speed skidding across. We have a severity level of 3, probability level of 3, which gives a risk score of 9, which is very high. Now, to do this, we have to inform players no sliding on this sort of ground, and if there was an issue, there would be medical attention available. This gives us a new risk score of 3. That is my risk assessment. Thank you.